Hi everyone, I am Risha Ferdinand, the host of the Direct Her Virtual Summit 2020. And we have with us today Miss Terry Pena of the 110th Consulting LLC. Hi Terry.
Hi, how are you?
I am fine. I'm all excited. We have been having a number of exciting sessions, and I love money. I love to talk about money. So, this to me is the best session of it all, okay?
Definitely. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm super excited too. I wanted to start with a quote, and it basically says, adversity breaks old habits of thought. And this is from Napoleon Hill. So what happens? A lot of times our finances, they affect so many different areas of our lives, right? This is why talking about money is so important because it affects your family, it affects your children if you're in a bad mood about the finances. It is one of the biggest stress causes in a marriage, and it also negatively impacts your business, right? Because if you're having issues with money in your business, guess what? You're most likely going to close because of money.
Yes.
At the same time, it's so important to see adversity and failure as something good, right? Many times we beat ourselves up, right? Kind of like the image, right? She's like, she has
Yes.
her head down in her face. She's like stressed out because of the
Yes.
finances. And we're like, why did I do this? What's going on? What a mess I'm making, you know?
Yes.
What we have to understand is that sometimes in adversity, when we get to the point where we can't take it anymore, that is an opportunity to break an old habit. That is an
That's correct.
opportunity to change, right? And that is an
Yes.
opportunity to see that maybe we are failing the way that we're doing it, but because we want to get out of it, we're going to start doing something to change that. I wanted to share a little bit of my own journey when it comes to our finances. We were in debt. We were having really, really poor communication when it came to our finances. I was not happy with my job. There was just so many things going wrong for us. And it's like when you get to month and you're having issues with your finances, you can't save, you can't do anything, you can't go anywhere, like so many things going on at the same time. And we just decided, you know what? Let's do something about this. Let's take a financial course. We took a financial course, and it was the best thing that we could have ever done. It helped us with our communication, it helped us get organized, it helped us do so many things. And after taking that course, I also got excited about the mindset of money. Like, how should I be thinking about money? What should I be doing?
Yes.
What are the principles that I need to follow when it comes to money? So when I did that, we just saw a radical change in everything. I ended up quitting my job. So we
Right.
went from two incomes to one income. And
Right.
even with all that, we were actually still able to keep on going and to keep doing the things that we wanted to do because we set ourselves up correctly with the financial
Yes.
literacy and the information, right?
Yes.
So I remember in the midst of it all, when I quit my job, I remember just praying and being like, Lord, please don't let us get in debt. Please don't let us get in debt. Because it's a scary thing sometimes when we're
Yes.
into entrepreneurship, right?
Yes.
Like scared, it's new, we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know about
Yes.
it's like there's just so many things going on in our brain and in our lives. And I was like, just please don't let us get in debt. And we didn't get in debt. We were able to do everything and manage it. And I know for a fact that it was because we took those classes and we learned the things, because if not, it would have probably been like a whole nother story. And that is what makes me passionate about doing what I do, because I know that it changes lives. I know that with the right information, with the right principles, and with the right education, we can press forward without a problem.
Yes. That's correct. I love that. I love that the fact that you had an experience with money. And it's only at that point in time when we will actually get our aha moments. When our backs are against the wall, it's like we had enough. And I'm really glad to know that that is what you're doing now. You're educating us on how we can avoid these certain pitfalls or these mistakes So I'm looking forward to your presentation. You carry on.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So my first point in the mistakes that we make is that we have no foundation. That is the biggest problem that we have. Larry Burkett says that what we have going on, right? What we're manifesting and what we have going on is basically an expression of what's going on inside, and it's manifesting outwardly, right? So how do I explain that a little bit more? Our issues, our debt, our lack of communication, our not being able to have self-control with money, all these things are just a manifestation of what's inside of our heart, inside of our character, inside of our being, that is manifesting on the outside as chaos, as mess, right? So this is why it's not only important to get the financial literacy and get the education, the financial literacy and get education and know about numbers. This is why it's important to know about foundational principles that are going to allow us to actually push forward. So it has a lot to do with what's inside of our mind, how we're doing it, how we're viewing it, and what's inside of our heart. Because if we can align that, and if we can correct that, then when it comes to actually applying the practical part, then we're going to be able to do what we have to do, right? So it's twofold. What do we work on? We have to work on the principles that we have at our hand to build the foundation, and then we also build the financial literacy. It's very similar to the foundation of a house. What happens? If, any house, any building has a foundation, and that foundation is made up of different bricks, right? If you're missing a brick in that foundation, the foundation cracks. It cracks and it falls down. So depending on how strong your foundation is, that's what's gonna allow you to withhold and withstand everything on top of it. If you have a building, you literally need floors of foundation. If you have a house, you only need a couple of feet of foundation. So depending on what you're trying to build, that's how you have to think about how strong your financial literacy and your principles have to be in order to withstand the empire that you're building. So if you're building a company and you're planning on having employees and you're planning on having a huge empire, and your dreams and your goals and your vision is to create something huge, guess what? You need a strong foundation in order to be able to sustain the weight that is going to come down the empire that you're building, right?
Yes.
And it's not just about the numbers. Sometimes we get hung up on the numbers. We get hung up on the fact that we have to do spreadsheets and that we have to do, take care of our budgeting and take care of our spending and savings, et cetera, et cetera. And yes, we do need those things. But if you know everything about numbers, but you have no self-control, guess what? You're going to have a hard time.
Yes.
If you know everything about numbers, but you don't have good stewardship on those numbers, guess what? You're going to have a hard time. If you know everything about numbers, but you have no integrity when it comes to dealing with your employees or when it comes to dealing with your vendors or anything else, that comes back to us in some way, shape, or form. That's a gap in our foundation, and we're going to see that through our businesses. Wow. So that's why our foundation is extremely important. It always starts with what's in here and what's in here, and then we take care of the rest.
Wow, that's incredible information. And I think, you know what, it really is about our foundation, because we tend to make the same mistakes over and over.
Yes.
And we ask ourselves, why are we here again? I tried this. And we always work on spreadsheets. But as you're speaking, I get to realize it's not just about the spreadsheets and the numbers, it's about our principles. Yes, you are speaking the right thing. You carry on.
Yes. There has to be a shift, right? Why? Because a lot of times people will say, and my clients will come to me and they'll say, like, I've tried this before. Like,
yes.
I've done this, and I can't get it. It just doesn't work. Like, this just doesn't work. And why doesn't it work? It doesn't work because it hasn't changed in your mind. your how you're doing it hasn't changed. How you're thinking about it, how you're feeling about it, all these things haven't changed. So if that doesn't change, the numbers are not going to change. It's just part of it, you know?
That's correct.
So my second point is numbers are not just for accountants. For some reason, people are budgeting like the plague. It's like, oh, the budgeting lady, no, I don't want to talk to her. I don't want to look at her. I don't want to talk about it, you know? And it's weird because people have like a love or hate relationship with numbers. They either love it and they have highlighted things and they have a million columns and they have a million spreadsheets and they thrive with it and they love it, or they hate it. And they hate it to the point that they won't even look at it. They won't even bother with it. They won't even do anything about it, right? I have so many times I meet with clients that they'll say, I have a business, but I just give all the books to the bookkeeper. Like, I don't know what's going on with the numbers. I take files and everything and I just give it to the accountant and they have to figure it out.
Yeah.
You do such a big disservice to your business. Like, that's your business. That's your baby. That's the reason why you're doing everything that you're doing, and you don't know what's going on. You should know in your business, you should know in your house what's coming in and what's coming out. You need to know your basic numbers. And yes, maybe we don't know how to do like 5 different spreadsheets and how to do everything when it comes to the numbers, but we still have to have a basic understanding with what's going on.
Yes.
I know people that they've done their taxes and they don't know anything about the numbers. So when the accountants tell them, oh, you need to pay 20 grand in taxes, or you need to pay 2 grand in taxes, they just take the person's word for it without even knowing, nothing doing. And then they end up having a huge problem years later because they owe a ton of money to the IRS.
Yes.
And it would have been something as simple as just looking at it and saying, I don't know, something is off. Like, we made this much money and this is, we came out. It's not correlating. Can you please explain to me how you're calculating our taxes, right? And then if you look further, you'll see that there's an issue. So it's just so important, right? The other thing is that a lot of times the people that live paycheck to paycheck are the ones that truly need a spending plan. Because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you need to know why. You need to know if it's truly because you really just don't make enough income to pay all your bills, or if you are not managing something correctly. There is a big difference. A lot of times, the society that we live in, we tend to live above our means, right? We tend to spend more than what we have. So when you create a spending plan, the numbers are the numbers, they don't lie. You have a clear roadmap as to what's going on in your finances, and you can decide for yourself and say, okay, no, I'm clearly overspending, or I'm not spending correctly with the numbers. And the other thing is that it's not about being frugal. I'm not big on being frugal. A lot of times people avoid budgeting like the plague because they feel like they're going to be like, I can't spend anything. I can't do anything. You know, the person helping me with my first personal finances is not going to let me go get my nails done. They're not going to understand my expenses. And it's not about that. I always speak to my clients and I tell them, listen, you can have your Starbucks. You could go out and eat with your spouse and go on a date night. You can get your nails done. We're not about like penny pinching and doing that. The thing is that, are you doing all those things and are you out of debt? Are you doing all those? And do you have an emergency fund, a cushion for your business? Are you financially, right? So there's nothing wrong with enjoying things and having a good time and being able to enjoy your money, take your family on vacation. All these things are great things. But should we take our family on vacation and amount a $8,000 credit card debt? That's probably not the wisest thing to do if we don't have the money to pay it back. So it's about how are we seeing it, you know?
Correct.
Another big thing that I love to address is that money is not evil. A lot of people have been taught that money is evil, money is bad, or people that have money are bad people, or They must have gained it in a, if you have money, you must have done something horrible or terrible in order to make that money.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. Money in itself is amoral. If you look at the definition of money, it's amoral. It has no virtue.
Right.
So it's not good, it's not bad.
Right.
People have spoken about money being evil. They're talking about the love of money.
Exactly.
That's the part that's evil.
Yes.
When you say love, some people were like, oh, well, I love money. I like money. Like, what's the big deal? But when you actually get into the root of it, when you actually start like piecing through the definitions of what they mean with love, they are talking about like an ultimate desire, avarice with money, having money as the top of everything else, on top of your family, on top of your spirituality, on top of every single desire, where you're coveting.
Yes.
And that's where the problem comes in. It's not money that's evil, it's having a desire for it that is an unhealthy desire and putting it on top of everything else, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, money is a tool. If you
Yes.
have a business, you cannot have a business without money.
Correct.
Even if you have a non-for-profit organization, right? And you're doing it because you love charitable work and you want to do things, you can't operate without money.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, in order for us to be able to do the things that we want to do with our families, with our legacy, with any company that we're building, we need money. So we need
Yes.
to have the right view and mindset of money so that we can do it properly. Because if you're thinking that money is evil and money is bad, guess what? Subconsciously, you're not going to be creating and moving money because in the back of your mind, you're thinking it's a bad thing for you to be doing what you're doing.
Yes. Yes. Could that be also because we have put so many restrictions to ourselves with regards to budgets? Could it be that we also feel guilty, and our guilt is because we see money as bad as well? So we know we're trying to get out of debt or to manage money wisely. But if we have, let's say, an extra $20 or $100, and it's like, you know what, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to, just do whatever it is I like with that money. But after we do it, we go down that guilt trip. Could it be because we also think in our minds that one, money is bad, or is it that we think badly about budgeting? What do you think causes that mindset or that emotion to come when we decide to treat ourselves once a month or twice a month, whatever have you?
I think it's so many different things. It has a lot to do sometimes with our childhood, like how we were raised and how we saw our parents have a relationship with money. So if
Right.
you grew up in a home where there was like a lot of money issues, that the bills weren't getting paid on time, that they were struggling. Well, in the back of your mind, in your subconscious, you're gonna be thinking, I need to save money for a rainy day. I shouldn't spend this money because maybe I need to pay a bill in the future. Do my kids,
Right.
do they have enough clothes? So it's almost like you're remembering your memories in the back of your mind, and your subconscious are reminding you of all the negative things that you remember with your family, and
Yes.
you adapt that in your own family, right?
Right.
If you had parents that maybe didn't, or the opposite way, let's say you had parents that enjoyed things, they went
Yes.
on vacation, they bought nice things, they thought that it was good to have quality things, quality electronics. Guess what? You're gonna have a similar mindset. You're gonna think to yourself, we need this, it's worth it, it doesn't matter what
Yes.
the price is, it's valuable, it's important to me, I'm gonna buy it, right?
Yes.
But a lot of the way that we think, a lot of the things that we do, we either get it from society, we
Yes.
get it from our family,
Yes.
get it from school.
Yes.
And it could be also our religion, like our upbringing. There's a couple
Yes.
of different things. This is why we always say how important our intimate circle is, who you're surrounded by and who you're spending
Yes.
with. Because guess what? If you're gonna go hang out and everybody's pulling out the credit card to go out to
Yes.
go out to party or whatever, and nobody can afford it, but
Yes.
everybody's like, oh well, we'll pay late, guess what? You're gonna do the same thing.
Yes,
Not
correct.
the card. If they're doing it, it's okay. I'll figure out later how I'm gonna pay rent. I'll figure out later how to pay this $200 bill from, going out and partying,
Yes.
So it's all those things, so it's good to think about, why do I feel bad about this? Like, stop in that very moment,
Yes.
say to yourself, what is causing me to have this negative feeling about spending this money? Where am I
Yes.
getting it from? Like,
Yes.
who taught this to me? Who showed this to me? Where did I get this from? Did I read a book about it? Did I, kind of stop and contemplate? And more than likely, you're gonna get the answer. Like, something will
Right.
in your brain that will remind you, like, oh yeah, I saw my mom do that, or oh yeah, I saw my dad do that, and that's
Yes.
coming from.
Yes.
We can definitely fix that. We can
Yes.
fix that negative mindset,
Got
which it goes perfectly like with the next point. So number 3 is that we use debt incorrectly. Kind of
Right.
what I just said about going out and spending money that we don't have on a credit card. It is socially acceptable right now to live above your means. Like, it is socially acceptable. Before, many years ago, that wasn't the case. Like, you didn't
Yeah.
have a ton of credit cards, you didn't have all this debt. People paid out of their pockets and they bought with the money that they had, and that was. But right
Yes.
now, our society believes that debt is okay. You just get credit cards. You get credit cards straight out of college or as quick as
Mhm.
you can. And it's okay to use them for recreation. It's okay to use them to go out to eat. It's okay to use them to go to the movies, to go hang out, to buy clothes, to do all these things that are recreational. But credit
Yes.
is not meant to be recreational, or credit shouldn't be recreational. Now,
Yeah.
there are some people that they use their credit cards for points and they do all these things, but they're able to pay it back. So
Yes.
I'm talking about that. I'm talking about the people that are using their credit cards well knowing that they're not going to be able to pay it back because they can't
Yeah.
afford it, right?
Mhm.
So it's not meant to be recreational. Credit is very good for businesses when used properly. Using credit effectively allows people to do different things. If you use credit effectively, if you have a business, you're able to grow a little faster. You're able to do things. You're able to maybe get inventory for a big job that you just got, that you know that you're going to get that money back, and that you're able to supplement the income through credit and things like that. There's different ways, shape, and forms that you can use credit to your advantage in a business without it being for recreational purposes. But at the end, and then also for like your home, you can get, if you have good credit, then you can get a mortgage, you can get a car. Like, there's so many different things that you can get that you can afford through credit. So I've said this before, and I say I am not anti-debt. I am anti-reckless spending.
Yes.
It's a huge difference. There's
Yes.
a huge difference, right? And the thing is that debt is literally bondage. Like, if you see the image I have here, it's literally what
Yes.
creates bondage. There is a proverb that says that you become slave to the,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and we
Yes.
don't realize that. We don't see that until we're in the midst of it. It
Yes.
feels heavy. It's a burden. You don't want to hear the phone ringing, because you're afraid that it's a debt collector.
Yes.
Bills coming in, and first they come in white, and then they come in yellow, and then they come in like, you're like going crazy with everything. It literally is a burden. It's oppressive. It's hard. It's hard when you're in debt and when you have those problems. So we have to do something about it, right? We have to create a plan to get out of that debt so that we can feel much better, so that we can feel lighter, so that we can feel like there's a plan and a purpose and we're moving forward. Number 4 on my list is gratitude and giving.
Yeah.
It's such a big deal. A lot of what I talk about is mindset and who we are on the inside, because it's truly, truly what makes the difference, right? So when we have an incorrect mindset when it comes to gratitude and giving, it completely shuts us down. It'll
Yes.
completely shut us down. It it makes us in a bad mood. If we're always thinking, I don't have money,
Hmm.
don't have this, I can't pay my bills, and if we're saying it, right? If we're feeling it, we're thinking it, and we're saying it, that makes us get into like a really nasty mood. Like it makes us feel like we have nothing, we don't have enough, there's lack, there's scarcity.
Yes.
It just completely
Yes.
changes
Yes.
who we are and how we're.
Yes.
So it's super important to have a correct mindset and be grateful for the things that we have, right?
Yes.
When it comes to giving, an open hand is key.
Right.
Because we have to be flowing. Money likes movement, right? Money likes to flow. Money likes to go back and forth. It likes to travel. It likes to do so that it can grow, so that it can do what it has to do. So guess what? If your hand is closed, if it's clenched, not only are you not giving, right? You're not giving to someone, but you're also not receiving, because ain't nothing going in there with a closed fist. So what are you doing? You're not doing anything. You're not moving. But if you have an open hand, where the concept that you think is that you give freely, guess
Mhm.
you give freely, then that money does what it has to do, and it comes back to you in some other way, shape, or form. And then you're becoming a conduit of blessing. You are being blessed, and you're blessing, and you're able to do what you have to do.
Yes.
In order to have that mindset to give freely, it's a lot of it has to do with gratitude. It's feeling and the sensation of, you know what? I have a lot to give. Maybe I only have 2 shirts, but guess what? That means I have 1 shirt to give, and I'm gonna give it. Maybe I only have I have this, but you know what? I'll break it in half and I'll give the other person that have. It's a different way of seeing it and thinking of it. When we have a grateful heart, we flow differently. We are creative. We can
Yes.
think. We can see possibilities. We can see a way out. We can find a solution. We can do that. And that all has to do with just gratitude. Just look, at the end of the day, there may be a couple of things on the list that you have in your life that are not perfect, that are not going good, that you're not happy about. Even now in these days, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of planning that we can't do because a lot of things are getting done last minute. But guess what? If I stop and I take a moment and I pause, I can think of so many things that I'm grateful for.
Yes.
Children are healthy right now. They're good. My fridge is full right now. We're
Yeah.
eating, So if I put my mind on all these things, it'll shift me from all the other things that I couldn't do.
Yes.
Everybody has been affected in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
I literally had to do a 360 on my business. Everything I had planned had everything to do with face-to-face connections. I had events and guest speakings and everything that was face-to-face. And guess what?
Yes.
It's not happening. But
Yes.
that doesn't mean that one-to consulting is not happening. That doesn't mean that I'm
Correct.
still not working. That doesn't mean that I'm not pushing forward. So
Yes.
the same thing.
Yes.
Maybe you are in debt. Maybe you have a lot of issues right now. Maybe you're about to lose certain things. But guess what? There are things that you still have, and there are things that you can still do to
Yes.
get out of the debt, to get out
Yes.
of the mess, and to push forward.
Yes. I just want to add something there, something that I do within my own business. I have learned to give 80% of my work free. For some persons, that might be a lot. But let me explain. When I give 80% of my work free, or 80% of my clients free work, what I've realized is the other 20%, the payment that I get from them, has been able to cover 80% of my lifestyle, versus trying to serve that 80%, and they could only cover 20% or even less than 20% of my lifestyle. So when this pandemic had hit, the majority of my clientele was made up of small businesses. Once the small businesses were forced to close, they have no income. So they could not have paid me my monthly retainer. So what happened? I had nothing. But the larger corporations that I had as my clients, they remained open. So, and even though it was few of them, their money, that income I got from them was able to make me survive through each month. And then I realized, you know what? I have always been saying it, give 80% free work, the other 20% will cover you. And I actually saw that what I've always been saying, I saw it, come to pass. It's like, yes, it's the 20% that has been taking me through each month. And I'm really grateful for it. And you're right, gratitude and giving is really important. And once you set that in your business, we don't have to be 80%. It could be 50%, whatever you decide. But at the end of it all, it's the heart that's behind it. It's the heart matter, which is gratitude and giving.
Absolutely. It's your business model, right? It's your purpose. It's how you want to do it, right? And it works because you believe that it would work.
Yes, that's true.
It works because you put in the work and the effort.
Yes.
And it works, right? So there's so many things that it happened that makes it work, when we were like right when we transitioned from the 2 incomes to 1 income. I remember that there were literally times in that first year that I was like, oh my God, we need $500. We're not going to be able to pay the mortgage. Like, what are we going to, but we always were givers. Like we were always like very good with all those things. And I remember that literally it would be like the day before paying it and we would get a check in the mail.
Like
literally a check in the mail, like exactly how much we needed. And we never lacked. Like by the time a couple of different things happened like that every single time I was like, oh my God, this is not going to work. I realized that at the end of the day, like God is my provider and he's going to provide. And I'm doing my part, right? We have to do our part. We have to do our part, whether it's serving our community, whether it's serving our church, whether it's serving through our companies. When we do our part, everything else just comes together the way that it needs to come out. And a lot of the times you're not going to see it. You're just not going to know where it's coming from. You're not going to know how it's going to happen. It doesn't make sense with our eyes or with our feelings. It just comes to fruition. So we just have to believe. We just have to walk in a positive attitude. We have to have faith and we have to know that things are going to work out for our best.
Correct.
My 5th point is procrastination kills. A lot of times, for the same reason that people avoid numbers like the plague, what happens? We just ignore it. We just decide, you know what? I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to look at it. I'm not going to open the bills. I already know I owe money. I already know they're calling. I'm not going to pick up the phone. And we just get into this mood where we're not going to do anything about what's going on. And it's scary. Like just even approaching it or looking at it or trying to solve it is so scary that it stops us in our tracks from doing anything about it. But the reality is, and we kind of know it, but we just push it to the side. We don't even think about it. Like the mess is not going away. It is not. It's just not. It's not going to go away. The debt collectors are going to keep on calling you. You're still going to have the issues if you don't do something about it. So that's what changes us from adversity and from failure and switches us to actually making something out of it, changing our mindset, changing our finances. It's making that decision to change. It's making that decision to do something about it. And it's super important because a lot of times fixing things in our lives start with a decision and everything else just flows. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but it's definitely happened to me. Maybe I'm tussling with something like, should I do this? Should I not? Should I go change my job? Should I go on an interview? Should I add a new product in my business? Like so many things that I'm tussling with. And then once I decide, I'm like, you know what? this is what I'm going to do.
Yes.
I haven't even done anything yet towards what I'm going to do. And somehow somebody calls me for that idea. Somebody gives me an idea. Something happens, something moves, something shifts. And it's literally just based on a decision. I hadn't even started working on it.
Yeah.
So we don't realize sometimes how our indecisiveness affects what we're going on.
Yes.
So it's so important at this step to create a plan. Like, we need to just start creating a plan.
Yeah.
And this takes us to the personal finance roadmap. This is what I take my clients through, because there's so many steps to finances and there's so many things that we can do that sometimes that's why we don't even bother with it, because we don't know how to fix it. Like, okay, I know I have a problem, I know I have a mess, but how do I actually fix it? Like, I don't know how to fix it. And the way that my brain works is like, I have a problem, but I want you to show me, like, okay, what are we going to do? What's step one? What's step two?
Yes.
And where are we going to be at the end? Like, I want to know how to do it, because, okay, it's so nice. All right. So you said I need this, you said I need that, but how do I actually do this? Like, I need how to actually do this, you know? So I created these 5 steps.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what the roadmap that I do, that I work with, like when I do my clients and my courses. So number 1 is your foundation. That's the first thing. And that's why I started it, because it's the first thing, right? Yeah. So you need to address your mindset, you need to address your principles, and you need to address your financial literacy. Once you start with those 3 things, then you start the track of what you need, right?
Yes.
2 is your goals. Finances is different for everybody. Somebody may have really good personal finances, but really bad business finances.
Yes.
You cannot have the same plan and the same roadmap for someone who has financial needs for their business and financial needs for the house. It needs to be curated and it needs to be created with different things in mind, right?
Yes.
So you need to know your plan, you need to know your vision, and you need to know your mission. And this is what I do. I literally walk through people so that they can kind of self-reflect. What are your top 3 goals? What is it that you want to accomplish by meeting with me? And it's different for everybody. Some people are like, oh, I want to get out of debt, I want to have more money in savings, and I need to save for my kids' college fund. Okay. So everything that you're going to do from here on in, the next 3 steps are going to be surrounded by those 3 goals so that you can fulfill those goals. Okay. Some people, they say, I'm about to start a business and I need to save 10 grand. That's my first goal. And so that I have no debt, so I'm good. I don't need to worry about debt, but I do want to create multiple streams of income. So I want to start a whole new business and I need money for that. So it just depends. Like, everybody has different needs. So you need to be clear about what your needs are and what's first on your list, what's second on your list, and what's third on your list, right? So you create your plan, your vision, and your mission for your personal finances or for your business finances. Number 3 is your spending plan. This is where we actually get into the numbers. This is where we actually get into like the financial literacy to start organizing yourself. So you start your tracking, and tracking is basically you have a spreadsheet where you start saying, okay, how am I spending my money? What's going on? How I'm spending my money? And you start tracking it. You can track it through receipts. You can track it through. There's so many different ways to track it. It really depends on the personality of the person, how much work they're willing to put into tracking, and what they enjoy. So you start tracking. You start seeing like, okay, this is how much money is coming in, and this is how much money is coming out. Is the money coming out because I'm spending incorrectly, or is the money coming out because I'm spending correctly and it's just bills? Like, you have to start tracking things to analyze, what am I doing wrong in my business? Because if you have a business and let's say it's like you're creating things with your hands, right? Let's say you're creating, I'm just going to say masks is the first thing that comes up to my head with everything that you're doing, you know? You need to buy the materials for the mask. You need to think about shipping. You need to think about all these things, right? So if you're seeing like, wait a minute, I'm creating these things, but why are my numbers off? Like, why am I not making the profit that I should be making? It has to do with your spending. It has to do with income versus spending. So you have to look in and track to see where it is that something is off or something is wrong. Next is your spending plan. So you create an actual plan that you're going to go through every single month to track and to make a plan for your spending. This is basically a budget. You're creating a budget. And again, a lot of people don't like to hear the word budget because then they feel like, oh my God, I don't want to do this budget. I don't want to have to track my money. I don't want to have to worry about it, all this. But once you have it organized and once you have it well done, it's easy peasy. We literally sit one time a month with my husband. We sit, we do the budget for the whole month. We know how much money is coming in. When we get the paycheck, we designate a day that we're going to do it. When we get the business finances, we do it. Sit down once, done. If we need to think about it, if something changes, we have a conversation about it, and that's it. Before, it was like we would get money coming in, and we're like, all right, now what are we going to do? Should we change, or should we pay a bill? Or should what are we going to do with this money? Can we spend it? Can we not spend it? The money comes in, and we're clear. We know what's gonna happen. There's no question. Like, we know exactly how much we can spend. We know how many times a week we can go out to eat. I know how many times if I want to go buy things. Like, it's just super clear. It makes life so much easier.
Yes.
And then part of your spending plan is also your savings. Like, how much are you going to put in for savings? How much you're going to put in for giving? Do you have an emergency fund? Do you need to work towards an emergency fund? All these things are super important. And that has everything to do with your spending. So you're literally just organizing your numbers, organizing how you're going to spend your money, how you're going to give your money, how are you going to save. The next step is debt and investments. Once you have everything organized and you know what's coming out because you have credit card bills or you have medical bills or you have whatever, now you can say to yourself, okay, this is my spending. This is how much money I have left over at the end of the month. Do I have debt? And if I have debt, how do I pay it off? How am I going to actually pay it off? So you create a spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet that I give my clients that basically puts all the debt in one place. We have debt all over the place that sometimes we don't even know how much we owe. We don't want to put it all together because we're scared to really see how much we owe. Between the car and the mortgage, credit cards, and this loan here. And
So number 4, the debt and investment.
Yes. So with debt and investment, basically, this is the step where we start organizing our debt. We start organizing it because now we know how much we're spending. Now we know how much money we have left over after our spending, after paying our bills, etc. And we create a plan for our debt. Many times our debt is all over the place. Like, we don't know how much we owe because we owe a little bit here, a little bit there. We owe money all over the place and we just do not know what's going on. So it's super important to organize your debt. You can put your debt in one spreadsheet so that you have everything in one place and you know exactly how much you owe and how much your payments are. Those two things are super important. Why? Because if you see that you only have $400 extra a month after paying all your bills and after paying everything, right? But then you have $500 worth of credit card debt, how much money you are mismanaging because of your credit card debt, and you would not be paycheck to paycheck if you didn't have those credit cards. Don't think about that. In the midst of everything, like, we don't think about that. We just look at it like another bill. But it isn't another bill. It's a bill that we created, right? It's not something that needs to be permanent and fixed because we created it, basically, you know? So once you have that and you know exactly how much money you owe, And this can be for your business. It can be for your personal finances. You can use that same spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet that I use with my clients, it has your interest rate. It has how much you pay, like what your minimum payment is, when it looks like you're going to be done paying that credit card. Like it has all that information in one sheet so that you have an idea of what you're going to do. So then you create a debt payment plan with that. With that same spreadsheet, you can create a plan and you can say, okay, I'm going to pay this credit card first, then I'm going to pay this, then I'm going to pay that. And this is my plan for getting rid of my credit card debt.
Yeah.
It is super effective, so useful. I had a client that had over $90,000 in debt, and he actually had a spreadsheet and he was working through things, but he didn't take that last step of actually creating a payment plan based on interest and based on how much he owed and those things. So all he saw in his mind was like, oh my God, I have $90,000 in debt. When I'm going to get rid of this payment, I have no idea. And he also was like putting $25 more here, $100 more there for no rhyme or reason. Like, and I'm like, why are you paying $25 and more? I just decided to do that. Like, why are you paying $100 here? No, I just put it in. There was not really like a reason. So when we actually took that spreadsheet, organized it by interest, organized it by payment, organized by that, and created a snowball effect, then we were able to organize it, see it, and I said to him, if you follow this whole thing that we made, this plan straight through, you will be debt-free in 2 years.
Yeah.
It was like, that feels so much better, right?
Yes.
To look at a $90,000 debt and feel like it's never going to go away, to have a date to it.
Yes.
Oh, it's such a big difference. It was such a big reliever for him to see like, oh my God, I am going to get out of this debt. Like this debt is literally going to go away. So it was super awesome. The next step is if you're saving, if you paid off all your debt, if you're good, then you start looking at all the additional things that your finances have and that allow for good personal finances, right? I put that as the last step because we need to first put things in order before we start adding all these things, right? So once you have a good spending plan, once you have your savings, once you have an emergency fund, once you're getting rid of your credit card debt, then you can look at your life insurance. Do you have life insurance? What kind of life insurance do you want? Do you have a college savings plan for your kids?
Right.
Do you have retirement plans? Like, do they offer them at your job? Do you have them in your business? Do you need to get an IRA or a Roth IRA if you have your own business? Then you can start looking at all these things that make up your personal finances and that make up your financial portfolio. But when we do it in order, we're able to tackle everything one thing at a time. Under insurances, I have your expenses because one of the things that a lot of people don't do that is really, really helpful is getting 3 quotes for your spending.
Right.
For your business or whether it's for your personal finances. So let's say you do your spending plan, let's say you have a debt plan and everything, but you want to try to make money like immediately. You know, you're trying to make money immediately. One of the ways that you can do it is you can look into your current bills and see if you can reduce any of them. A lot of times we'll get our cell phone bill or a cell phone plan and we'll have it from like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and we don't even look into if there's a cheaper plan.
Yes.
Or if we have a mortgage or if we have a homeowner's insurance, we do that once and we never look at it again. We just get home insurance and we never look at it again, right?
Correct. Yeah.
We have so many bills. Car insurance. We have car insurance for those of us that have cars. We get car insurance and we just leave them. It could be 6, 7 years later and we don't even.
True. Yeah.
Literally this year, I looked into the homeowner's insurance and we were like the policy was renewing, and I said to her, I said, can you just look at the policy, make sure it's okay, you know, make sure it's good. And she goes, it should be good. And I said to her, can you just look at it, please? Because I have a relationship with her. It's super important to have a relationship with your vendors, you know? Like, can you just please look at it? Lo and behold, she's like, guess what? I saved you guys $350 a year.
Wow.
Get that savings. It's going to come off of your mortgage. And on top of it, I added 2 things that you wanted to add to the policy that you couldn't add before because you didn't want to pay extra. So not
Yeah.
only did we save $350, I got
Yes.
a basement flood insurance and I got
Wow.
insurance. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, you see? And when
Yeah.
I asked her, it was almost like, you should be fine. And I'm like, can you just check? Like,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
So right there, we saved all that money. And it literally, then that reduced our money, on a monthly basis because it's all for the mortgage now.
Yeah.
We also got in quotes again for our car insurance and everything. When we switched from 2 jobs to one job in that season, I changed so many things that we ended up having like a $350, $400 change on our monthly bills. We
Right.
changed our car insurance, we changed our phones, and I forgot off the top of my head, I can't remember what else we changed. But just by changing a couple of things around, we saved money. So we
Yes.
instantly had more money. And we don't do that. Sometimes, especially in business, it is so important. Sometimes because we're rushing or we're doing something,
Yes.
with the first person that gives us a
It's
quote
true. Yeah.
and we just go for it. Like, okay,
Yeah.
done, sold,
Yes.
out of my way. Next thing that I have to worry about.
Yes.
It's such a disservice, like to you, to your finances, to everything,
Yeah.
because there could be something out there that's so much better. So that's a big thing. Get 3 quotes. No matter what you do, if you're pricing something out for a party or whatever it is, get 3 quotes because then that way you can make a good, wise decision on how you're going to be spending your money. It's super, super important. So that's the 5 steps um, for personal finance roadmap. So then that way you can piece through it and you can go with it one by one and start crossing it out little by little and get ahead of your personal finances. Part of the program that we have a priceless gem that we share with the men and women. So from my business, you're going to receive a personal finance forms. These are all the forms that you would need in order to complete your financial roadmap. So you will have the tracking sheets, you will have the spending plan, you will have the credit card organizer, and as a bonus, I'm also going to add a sheet where you can write your goals so that you can see like, all right, these are my 3 goals. This is what I want to work on. This is what
Yes.
I do. And that's how I'm going to start tackling everything little by little. And I also have all the forms and sheets in business style. So you're going to get both. You're going to get the spending plans for your personal finances and you're going to get the spending plans for your businesses. So that is the priceless gem that you're going to be getting from me from 110th Consulting. And that's it. That's our 5 points. I hope these points are a blessing to you and to your family. And I truly know that with a mindset shift and with putting plans in action and taking the time to push forward and get your goals accomplished for your personal finances and for your business, like anything is possible.
Thank you so very much, Terry. This session was very informative. And it also, brought back while you were talking about, childhood and, where you were brought up. While you were saying those things, I was doing self-evaluation at that point in time. And it's like, I'm thinking in my head, oh, okay, so that's why I have been behaving this way, or that's why I've been doing that. So it makes all sense to me even more. It's much clearer. I thank you so much, for this session. I feel more empowered. While you were also talking, it's like, okay, I need to go sit with my husband. We need to talk over the business again. Yeah, I've learned a lot of things even in this little time that we have spent here. I'm glad that I have access to replay, so I can go and click replay, let my husband listen to this. Because, funny enough, most of the summits or conferences that around the globe in our little countries is generally about women and for women. And very rare you find these things are for men, to teach men, about finances and teach men about mindsets and teach men about emotions and these things. There aren't much of these type of forums for men to grow. So I'm so glad that I have access to replay. So I can now sit with my husband and I can say, what, let's listen to this. So he also can be enlightened and grow from this. I really love it that we can apply this to both of our businesses as well as to our home. Thank you so very much, Terry, for sharing this with us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's so important. It's when you have good communication with your spouse about
Yes,
finances, communicating about everything else is
yes,
so much easier because it's one of the hardest things to communicate. And yes, I also agree with you. There's not a lot of forums and not a lot of things. So it's super helpful when we can come alongside them and
yes,
just be able to discuss and talk about things because we all dissect information and gain knowledge
yes,
completely different ways.
yes,
So sometimes they'll come to us and they'll be like, I did this and I did
yeah,
think this and I think that, and this is what we should do for the home or for business or whatever. And we
yeah,
come together and we make a decision. So it's
yeah,
the same thing for things like this. Sometimes we're the ones that get some extra knowledge, or we're like, you know what? We don't sit together every month, or
yes,
maybe that's why we're fighting all the time about money.
yes,
Maybe this would help us. Maybe this is
yes,
something we could do. And we
yes,
open the door to conversation so that things can get better, and so that also when we have children, when we have a family, so that they can see that mom
yes,
and dad are on top of their money game. Mom and dad talk about everything. Mom and dad discuss
yes,
everything. And then
yes,
we are creating good mindset and good habits in them so that when they get older, they don't have to think, why do I think like this? Like, what
yes,
thing did my parent teach me, you know,
yeah,
about personal finances? But
yes,
yes, thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. I'm also super glad that this is on replay so that everybody can
yes.
check it out and, relook at and assess any information that they want to assess again.
Yes, thank you, and thank you all, the audience. And I trust that you will also get the replay, and you can also apply to both your business and to your personal life. So do have a good rest of the day.